All right, welcome back, everybody, to World Cup check-in. I am back from traveling, where I did get to see at least a decent portion of the quarterfinal rounds, including watching the entirety of the U.S. game, which I think on paper looks, well, we'll get into that in just a sec. Anyway, it's we now have all of our four semifinalists established, revealed, all of that good stuff. Every single team, no matter if they win or lose, will now have two more games to play, whether that's the finals or the third place game, or including the semifinal match. So hopefully the United States is in the finals, and but we'll just kind of have to see. So yeah, let's get into it. The recap, I think it was the first teams to go were Norway and England. I said that I thought that there would be sort of a rehash of history, and by history I mean like history from 800 and 900 AD and all that stuff. But I didn't honestly expect it to be so lopsided. We had, well, for one thing, I thought Norway was just going to be better, but they came into this game and I think they just looked flat, and then England took advantage of it and never sort of let up, and they beat Norway 3-0, and I think it was a pretty easy victory. Let me just click on the stats here. They scored in the 3rd minute, 40th, and 57th minute. 51% possession. They just, even though they have similar stats here, they just seem to do a lot better and a lot more with their opportunities than Norway did, which is a little bit troubling because they go on to play the United States. So yeah, when it comes to soccer, I think in an ideal world, I think for me, 3-0 is the perfect victory. That's because any more and it's you're way too good for the other team, any less and it's like, okay, you may have not finished your chances. I think that when you do score 3 goals, it's like, okay, you score either 1 in the first half, 2 in the second, or vice versa. And I think it just shows that you're comprehensively better than the other team. And the team, even though like the other team was actually a good opponent to play. So I do like those 3-0 victories, but that just shows that England really is sort of really in their stride right now and doing really well, which is worrisome for all United States fans. When it comes to Italy, Netherlands, and the Netherlands, I think the Netherlands kind of walked away with this much better off. I said that Italy's defense would sort of get the job done, but the problem with defense in the game of soccer is that you can't win games by defense alone. You have to score goals. The game is ultimately about scoring goals. And, well, Italy didn't do that. I think they put up a stout defense. Netherlands didn't break through until the 70th minute, so the second half. But I just don't think that Italy did that well. They had 37% possession. And ultimately, that's not going to help you score goals. And I think that the conditions didn't help. It was super hot that day. So, you know, you can't really do anything about that. But I think the main takeaway is that defense may win you championships, but you need to score goals still. And Italy was unable to do that. However, they did put themselves on the national stage, so it's nice to see that, Italy's game is rising, and I think that certainly in the next iteration of the Women's World Cup, it will be very interesting to see how far they've progressed, because if they can get their attacking side down, then they will certainly be a threat to be a dangerous threat. Now, for the Netherlands, on the other hand, they did prove that they can break down a defense like that, even in poor conditions, which is actually very, well, it's just good for them, and it shows that they might be able to break down a good defense, and I don't know if there's even sort of a good defense left. I think Germany technically should have been the last one, but the way that the Swedes handled them, maybe it'll be Sweden that will need to be feared. So the Netherlands advanced, and they get to play Sweden, who played Germany. Now, I thought that in my bracket that Germany would end up playing the Netherlands and losing to them, but ultimately Germany did still lose, I think in the same quarterfinals that I predicted way back when. I'd have to check, but I'm too lazy to. So, but I think that it was a shocker for Sweden to do it because, you know, Sweden, although they didn't play their best against the United States, they still lost, and they, you know, didn't have their first team. They managed to get through. I think they beat, who did they beat before? They beat Canada 1-0, so they beat a better team, and then they continued on and beat another good team. And I think that that just shows that when their first line is out there and they're well organized and all that, they can get the best of anybody. And I think that it's, you know, a little bit concerning because, well, you know, they just beat the second best team maybe in the tournament, or, you know, they beat a very good German side, they beat a very good Canadian side. So to see them succeed is going to be interesting because now they get to go play the Netherlands, and who knows what will happen with that game. I think it's kind of a toss-up. I think maybe the Netherlands will squeak it out. I honestly, it'll be an interesting game to watch because, well, for one thing, they had 36% possession. Germany had all of it, which just means that Sweden, when they had their chances, they were taking care of them. So we'll see. I think the Netherlands might give them more possession, but you know, and maybe that will confuse them and they will not do as well. But you know, we'll just have to see from that. So now we get to the U.S. So the U.S. played France, and this was the sort of big hyped game. A lot of people think that whoever came out of this match would go on to win the whole thing. I don't think that's true. I don't think that. I think that with England the way they are, I think that it will be whoever advances from this side of the bracket in general, which is either England or the U.S. Will win it. Though, you know, who knows? Sweden could come in and put on a defensive performance, or the Netherlands could, you know, surprise everybody. It's really up for grabs in that department. But the U.S. came out firing. They scored really early, which was great. Great for nerves because it means that, you know, any chance is like, okay, well, at least they'd only be equal, which was nice for me. However, as the game progressed, you could sort of see that the U.S. was being outplayed, and we really needed to make substitutions. We eventually did make those substitutions, and the U.S. did get a second goal. We should have gotten a third, but thanks VAR for not, you know, actually doing its job. Instead of calling back, you know, stupid things like a goalkeeper off her line or something. They just didn't even check the fact that the U.S. player was onside instead of offside or whatever. But the U.S. did end up winning. France did get a consolation goal, but for the most part, I think the U.S. was outpossessed too. 61%, yeah, to the U.S. 39%. It was a weird game because the U.S. went out and they took their chances, and I think they were really helped with that early goal, meaning that they could sort of sit back and take the pressure, and they didn't have to risk themselves. But the U.S. was organized instead of being just dominant on the ball, and yeah, it was just a weird game because France looked like they were the number one team in terms of possession. But of course, possession isn't everything in soccer. It's often just a stat to measure, okay, how well can your players keep the ball and all of that. And usually the U.S. dominates in that. But I think this game went according to plan. Certainly, that third goal was, should have been there, and it would have looked a lot better for the U.S. I think in general, Crystal Dunn is an interesting sort of player to look at in this case, and certainly I'm worried about it in the next match. Crystal Dunn is the left back, or the very left person on the U.S. defense. Typically in today's game, the left back will push up and try and get up into the attacking part of the attacking half of the field and try and put in good crosses. Crystal Dunn does that. She's really quick, but she's also really skillful, and so that allows her to be an effective left back and all that, even though that's not her normal position. Which is the big question, that's the key part, is that the left back isn't her position. She typically plays in her club game. She plays in either an attacking midfield role or something like that, where she creates chances and all of that. But now she's being asked to defend. And defending is a little bit different because you have to worry about your positioning, and you can't just rely on other people, especially if you're the left back, because the other team will exploit it. And I think the big thing here is that Crystal is fast, and that allows her to recover from being too far up the field to get back. In this game, though, I think a lot of people were applauding her because she was able to get back into those positions that she needed to be in to defend, to stop the French attack. And the French right midfield, the French player who would be basically going up against her every time, was hard pressed to get anything going, and I think we have to applaud her for that. And I think that the rest of the team also has to be applauded for their defensive efforts. But I'm worried that she won't be able to do that again. I think she'll do fine. I just wonder if England, who have Lucy Bronze, who's a phenomenal right back, who would be sort of the opposite in the sense that so England's right back is up here, Crystal Dunn's down here. She would be pushing up against Crystal. So we'll see who can pin the other back, because either way, Lucy Bronze is an important person for England's attack, and so is Crystal Dunn in terms of getting the ball out wide to the left and to the right for either team. So I'm still like, I don't want to, a lot of people are like, okay, the U.S. has it now, England isn't that great. But again, England just dismantled Norway, and Norway is a former, they've won the World Cup before. They had a lot of young talent. They did really well. Norway beat, who did they beat in penalties? They beat, Australia, right. They beat a very good Australian team and all of that. So, it's, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do, what to think, and I don't know who's going to go out and finish the job. I'd like to think the U.S. could do it, and I think that, they can, but I also think that England can win, which is, of course, the problem is I'm still a nervous Nancy, and when it comes to the final, it's like, okay, whatever happens, happens. But with this case, it's like, okay, the U.S., you would like to advance to that final through England, and I would hope that we're reenacting the American Revolution rather than the War of 1812, which could be characterized as a British victory, but I won't get into that history stuff. So that's pretty much what we're looking forward to. We've got Netherlands and Sweden. That's on Wednesday, and then tomorrow we've got England versus the United States. If you're in Chicago, they're having a massive, hopefully massive, gathering in Lincoln Park downtown in Chicago. I will be there because I have nothing else to do, and I'm going to watch that, and hopefully it will be good times as the U.S. march on. And all of that. The good news is the U.S. will still play 2 games, so it's just a matter of will they play on the 7th for the final, or will they play for, I think it's on the 6th. Yeah, on the 6th for 3rd place. So we shall see. Hopefully it's on the 7th for the final, and I think that Netherlands-U.S. would be a very good game in terms of atmosphere because the U.S. has brought a lot of fans, and so has the Netherlands. But we're just going to have to wait and see. But yeah, you could tell I'm just like, I'm sitting here, I'm nervous. I have no idea what's going to happen. And I think that we might have to face adversity for the first time. We haven't been down a goal yet in this match. Or in this World Cup, and I think England could very well do that to us, and it'd be interesting to see how we respond, because recently Megan Rapinoe has scored the last 4 goals for us. Alex Morgan has only scored the 5 goals in the first game, which is not good. We'd like her to be scoring, but of course we do have Carly Lloyd, Kristen Press, Mallory Pugh, all of these players who could make an impact. So I'm going to shut up now, and yeah, tune in. Make sure you tune in to both games, and I will hopefully catch you after tomorrow with good tidings. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.